Park and joins us now live. Mangoba, good evening to you. What are some of the details that have emerged around the deal that has been agreed to?
Well, Bongani, certainly that crippling bus strike now confirmed to be over by the unions just a short while, who announced that they have reached an agreement with the employers and that this brings to the end this crippling bus strike that we've seen, leaving thousands of commuters stranded and, of course, many of them forced to find alternative arrangements. And I can tell you the frustrations that we saw in the past few weeks, speaking to those commuters, saying that what an inconvenience it's been for them. And it's certainly tonight it comes as a huge relief that this bus strike is over. But just to get a few more details about that agreement that was reached earlier today, I'm now joined by NUMSA's General Secretary, Irvin Jim. Mr. Jim, first of all, let's start. It's been a protracted strike. It's been a long strike for commuters as well as workers themselves. How do you feel having reached this agreement today?
Well, I think first we must communicate our happiness that the strike has finally come to an end. Secondly, we appreciate that our communities have been negatively affected by the strike. Workers have suffered, obviously, but I think the people who really felt it has been communities who rely only on the buses to go to work. We want to say that we feel for them. We are very pleased that the strike is over. We have finally settled on 9% for this year for workers and 8% for next year. We secured a 2-year agreement, which gives us a period to strategize and think through the challenges that confront this sector so that in the next round after these 2 years, we can be better organized. We would have to shape a relationship with the employers so that the strike really must be the last resort, so that you don't end up in a strike because of attitude and stereotype on the part of the employers. And we think that government has got a critical role to play. This strike should have ended on Friday if there was no attitude from employers. And there was an attitude that was basically trying to hurt workers who are already victims because it's no work, no pay, as and when they are not at work. And the big issue was the issue of back pay. And finally, we're happy that finally employers, all associations have signed that they will back pay workers from the 1st of April as workers demanded. And really workers needed not to demand that because it has been a custom and practice in the industry. But it explains the kind of attitude that you have with employers in this sector. We think that in the task team and with engaging with government, we should be able to deal with all strategic issues and make sure that this industry is transformed, is responsive, because it is critical to transport workers and communities to and from work.
Okay, but we know, of course, that there are still some sticking issues that are remaining. The issue of, for example, the night shift, the issue of fit to pedal for drivers who drive long distances. What happens then to those issues now?
Well, it was interesting to listen to employers unpacking the fact that from where they're sitting, they think that this issue of night shift is a big issue, that it will cost them about 12%. From where we're sitting, we basically saying if per annum that's 22 million, that's 22 million that belongs to workers. And therefore, we want this issue to be resolved. We are willing to engage with them. They would have to come and tell us why they must contract out of the basic condition of employment. We think that if they are not willing to come to the party, we think that the Department of Labor should basically enforce and push them to pay night shift allowance because it's granted. That's what the basic condition of employment says. It says if you're working, workers are working night shift, must be paid allowance for night shift. Secondly, on the issue of a dual driver, we think that this is just a mere provocation because many of these companies are paying workers. There are 1 or 2 cheap companies that are not willing to pay workers when they are driving from here to Cape Town until they have their foot on the pedal. We hope to find one another on those issues.
Okay, we intend to hold it there, of course.
All right, our connection there is not the very best, not ideal, so we do apologize for the interruption for that link. Mangoba Mkunu is at that media briefing in Kempton Park. The national bus strike over, a deal has been struck. That's the good news coming out of Kempton Park. Stay with us, we've got more.